very pleasant good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubie Lubitz, and happy to have you here on this Wednesday. This is one of my favorite days of every 4 years. Only happens every 4 years, but this is one of my favorite days. No, it's not the 29th, but it's the day, the 28th, where you can tell your mortgage company, your landlord, bill collectors, credit card companies, your bookmaker, hey, listen, go fuck yourself. I've got one more day. It's kind of like that scene in Rounders, where they tell Matt Damon and Ed Norton, listen, you got till Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Otherwise, boom, I got to start chopping off limbs. You have one more day, everybody, because it's a leap year. So we have February 29th coming up tomorrow, and that's going to preserve at least my financial well-being for 24 more hours before the onslaught of ugliness begins. So enjoy it while you can, people. Happen to be in South Florida, where we've had just a string of gorgeous days, one after another after another. This is why we live here. This is the reason we're here in paradise. This is why we're paying these ridiculous prices. Because I got sunshine on a cloudy day. It's great. Although I do feel like singing today. This is an old one. I don't know. Do people even relate to any Robert Goulet references, Lubie? Is that something that even blows by you? You're familiar with Robert Goulet. I guess most famous, he had his Jackie Smith moment. This was a guy who was a brilliant baritone singer, well-respected throughout the universe. I mean, he was up there with any of the greats of his time. And maybe should have some lasting image, besides the fact that he blew the national anthem at the Liston Ali fight in Lewiston, Maine. And that's really all he's remembered for, isn't it? If ever I could leave you. I mean, when he belted that tune out, if ever I could leave you, how could it be in springtime? And we have this debate all the time, don't we, Lubie? When is the best time of the year in sports? And I'm beginning to get a little bit of spring fever. Now, I'm still going to go, and I think you agree with me, I'm still going to go with the fall as being the premier period of time in sports. Talking about it was late September and moving into October. You have the World Series going on. Although, does that begin in November now, the World Series?
Yeah, it's like late October, November now, yeah.
Yeah, it finishes up on Christmas Day. Hey, we got a champion. We got a champion. All right, way to go. The Rangers, they did it. What are the odds of the Rangers repeating? No, nobody's putting much faith in that. Don't they get, is DeGrom coming back from yet another, what was that, his sixth Tommy John surgery he had?
Exactly.
They may as well just sign Tommy John, the Rangers, if they're going to have DeGrom on the roster. But everybody always wants to take a chance on the guy because in the 7 games he pitches every year or every other year, he looks great. Looks unhittable. Although you would have to say, I know you don't like to use this term and peg a guy with a label that he's injury prone, but you would have to say Jacob DeGrom.
Oh, yeah.
Injury prone, my friend.
Yes.
They said that about Yatiel Green a long time ago, a guy that was out of the University of Miami. He was a speedster. Jimmy Johnson was in love with him, and he drafts him in the first round for the Miami Dolphins. And everybody was saying, Jimmy, he's injury prone. He's injury prone. And we justify it because we loved Jimmy Johnson. Whenever he did, it was okay with us at the time. And we said, hey, listen, those were minor injuries, the kind of stuff that happens. This isn't like a guy that's going to get any kind of serious permanent damage done. First day of training camp, tears his ACL.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but every now and then you get a guy who's injury prone, and guess what? He really is injury prone.
Yep.
And the magnitude and the seriousness and the debilitating impact of the injuries tends to amplify and get worse as time goes on. And that's kind of what happened to that guy. I guess DeGrom falls into the same category. But nonetheless, I mean, this is a period of time of just great hope. You have the NBA kind of shaping itself up, so we get a little bit of a glimpse of who's going to be a factor, and we still don't know. I mean, it's very much wide open, is it not? Is there any guarantee that Denver repeats? A lot of people are assuming, they're just kind of meandering their way through the regular season a little bit. No problem once they get to the postseason. Obviously, they're going to be very tough to beat, especially if they're a number 1 seed, which, Lubie, they may not be.
No.
What were the odds that the Minnesota Timberwolves would be leading the West at this point? Can we buy into that at all? No. I mean, they've got some great players playing good basketball, too. Karl Anthony Towns seems to have found himself this year. You got, Anthony Edwards? I mean, this guy has been sensational. He's proclaiming himself to be the best player in the NBA. And you know what? Even though you're a little bit astonished by that, saying, well, wait a minute, let's not jump to a premature evaluation here, Anthony. You're good. But I don't know that you couldn't make some argument that maybe he's onto something there.
He's his most well-rounded talent because he can equal parts dunk on you and shoot threes in your face. And he has good handle, and he's athletic. Talent-wise, he's as good as anyone in the league. He's not a top 10 player, but talent-wise, he's up there. Yeah, the T-Wolves are. It's weird they've lingered at that place the whole year. Like that's actually pretty interesting.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, they've been up there all season long. Excellent road record, 20-11, 28-8 inside the Western Conference, where their competition obviously is going to come from if they're going to merge as the conference champion. I don't know that they win it. I'm not sure that I'm buying it. I'm not sure that I'm buying Oklahoma City either, for that matter. But they have guys that are just lighting up and really seem to be playing with tremendous symmetry and composure, especially for some young guys like Chet Holmgren. He's blending in perfectly, having a phenomenal rookie season. This is his second year supposedly in the league, but he was out all of last year with that, what was that, microfracture? That's the injury that...
Was it preseason or even in summer league? I think it might have been summer league. He got hurt like...
It was like his first game. He was walking out on the court or something, and next thing you know, and that wasn't that the thing that did in Greg Oden? Remember Greg Oden? That was a big debate whether to take Greg Oden many years ago out of Ohio State or Kevin Durant.
Yes.
I guess that was one of those ones where the number 2 guy turned out to be vastly superior in terms of overall productivity. But Oden was compromised right from the start. He had been injured in college, but this was a completely different injury and never really was any kind of an established NBA player after that. Just kind of hung around for a little while, and that was it. But this happened to Holmgren. He's had a phenomenal rookie season with Oklahoma City, and yet it seems like everybody's just zeroing in on the 2 teams that are tracking in behind them in a Western Conference, which makes it really interesting because the wise guys are always all over the Clippers at this point in time. This is the time of the year where we're all in a while, hey, you better not sleep on the Clippers, which I don't know that anybody's sleeping on them, but would you be sleeping with the fishes if you bet on them? That's the question. They always seem to fall a little bit short. I know Kawhi Leonard was instrumental in Toronto's only championship, and made a phenomenal run there with Nick Nurse and company. They had a good team around him. They got a little lucky there, baskets dropping in that were impossible to see going through the hoop. And so you need a little bit of luck. But is Kawhi Leonard, you would think that he would be a winning player, that he would be somebody that could drive a team to a championship. And yet for some reason, the Clippers never get there.
Well, because they're always hurt. He, Paul George, and now the guy that is a straw that's stirring the drink either have injury issues or head cases, the 3 of them. So that's why it's like people probably count on them more than the Thunder, but I'm not. This Thunder team, any NBA person we talk to is the T-Wolves, okay, people don't trust them.
These are 2 teams, too, that we never see on TV. They're never on TV.
TV. The Thunder, I think, are getting more play. But, what's funny is they both are fun teams. They're fun young teams. It's
very entertaining.
They're like randoms. Like, they're fun young teams that you would think would be fun. Look, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a guy that people do know.
Great player.
It's weird. They play the Clippers a lot, though. They have the Clippers and the Lakers every fucking night.
Always the Lakers. Yeah, they're always trying to stretch the Lakers into the postseason. So, well, if they get in as a 10 seed, they'll be in the play-in, but, they're going to be tough there. They're going to be a tough out, which they may well be. But I don't know. Last year, I was touting the virtues of backing the Lakers. They actually went a lot further than most people would have anticipated before they ran into a brick wall, which was trying to win in Denver in a 4 out of 7 series when Denver has the home court advantage, which is a huge advantage for the Denver Nuggets. Being used to that altitude, you have to think that has some impact, and probably outside of South Beach being in close proximity. And teams come to town the night before they're going to play the Miami Heat. They're out all night partying at places called Bed and Mansion and all of these other clubs that are open till, they don't ever close, right? They don't open until like midnight. So you have to figure that's a huge advantage. I mean, did anybody ever see Allen Iverson rolling into some of those practice sessions? Hey, is Allen at the shoot-around? I don't think so. They still had to drag him out of some club there on South Beach. So short of that, though, I would think that the Denver altitude has to be the biggest home court edge that you could possibly have in any sport. Of course, the Rockies play in this atmosphere, but other teams thrive in it. And the Denver Broncos have, always had a huge home field advantage because of the fact that guys were wheezing as they got out there for the second half. And it's something that is perceivable and very tangible when you go. I don't know. Have you been to Colorado? I've only been there a couple of times, but
I've never been.
When I have been there, I've noticed it's a little tough to breathe sometimes. So a big edge. But, I think either Denver is going to win it or I don't know. I can't bank on the Clippers. And yet you can't discount Minnesota and Oklahoma City and maybe some others in the West. And then in the East, Boston has been superior to everybody most of the season.
Yeah.
But did you see what happened last night? And this was a sensational night. It's why I got a little bit of spring fever for the sporting world yesterday, Lubie. Unbelievable what's happening. Max Strus,
Yes.
a guy that if he showed up a couple of years ago before he played with the Miami Heat and demonstrated he had some NBA ability, doesn't he look like the kind of guy that shows up at the Y?
Yes.
And you're not sure if you even want him on your team? Max Strus. Kind of nondescript looking guy that he can shoot the rock. I think he made 4 threes before he hit this buzzer shot last night for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as the Cavaliers got an improbable victory and won it on like a 59-foot shot. It's like, holy fucking Jerry West, what is this guy doing? A swish on top of that, not even some crazy carom off the backboard of the top of the roof. This went right through, perfectly timed and delivered shot. And so Strus has the Cavaliers now with 39 wins, I believe. As the Cavaliers, well, we mentioned them about a month ago as a possibility to win the championship. Some freak handicapper had said, don't overlook the possibility of the Cavaliers coming on. They weren't playing particularly well at that time. They were just starting to get it together a little bit. And they've been red hot. So is it possible? I mean, who can challenge what has been just vast superiority in the Eastern Conference this year? Of the Boston Celtics. Is there anybody that you see emerging other than the Celtics? Philadelphia's banged up right now. I think the Knicks are tough to rate because they're missing a number of guys. All of their big stars seem to be out of the lineup, including now Brunson has some kind of problem. So he's been in and out. You already had Anunoby, who they traded for and seemed to really solidify their chances of making a run in the postseason. And he's been out for a couple of weeks. And Julius Randle, we don't know. He's talking about, well, I might get surgery, even though supposedly he was progressing nicely. So I'm thinking Philadelphia and the Knicks, I'm pushing them to the side, and the jury will remain out on them. And I don't know. When you get your players back late in the regular season and the other teams all have their momentum and things in place and the rotation down and they're trimming minutes for certain guys and enhancing minutes for others that they see doing well during the stretch run, you're well behind. I mean, it's almost like you're going back in a training camp a little bit at that point in time. So I'm going to go ahead and discard those two teams. And that leaves you what? That leaves you Boston, Cleveland. Do we make a case for the now winners of 5 in a row Miami Heat, who were stuck 15 last night against Portland on the road and have managed to mow down all of their competition on what used to be the circus West Coast swing?
Yep.
Where the circus would come to town, and that was it. You could count on a sub 500 road trip annually, and it usually encompassed a large number of games, maybe even double digits. As well, he'd have been on the road for 3 weeks here. Barnum Bailey right now was at the arena. And they can get these clowns out of here. I need to get some victories here for Miami, but can we discount them completely? The Miami Heat. I know you're a huge Heat fan, Lubie, and we're here in South Florida. It's not like we're just trying to tout the home team, but can you discount the Miami Heat, who somehow managed to wrangle a lot of victories with lineups that don't look that formidable? And they grab guys off the street, put them in the starting lineup, and somehow they're functional. So I don't know that you can discount them, but it does appear that the one team that would constitute a threat, if there is one, to the Boston Celtics in the East right now would be the Cleveland Cavaliers. Are you on board with that, or you just can't buy it?
No, the Cavs are not doing anything. The Cavs are really nice. The Cavs are like the T-Wolves to me of the East. The Thunder are real. The Thunder are deep. Thunder play really good defense. And they're young, so I don't see them getting past the Nuggets, but I don't think they're going to be scared of the Nuggets. The Cavs are better than they were last year. I don't see them losing a first-round series. Look, they lost in the first round to the Knicks last year, and they were a vastly superior team. They're a year older. Mitchell's been in the playoffs almost every year of his career. His supporting cast is playing a little bit better. A guy like Strus did play in the finals last year. It does have, I think he was involved in all 3 of the Heat's run deep into the play, at least 2 of the 4 deep runs the last 2 years with the Heat. So he has experience, and you add that, and that's something that desperately needed. So I don't see them just being an easy out like they were last year. I just don't. They're still young. Like they're still, Mobley is a huge part. Garland's still a huge part of their success. And those are 2 young guys that I don't know if they're ready to take on a Celtics in Boston, like you saw what the Heat did last year. So the Cavs to me are a notch below a Bucks and a Heat. The Bucks are finally under Rivers, starting to play good basketball.
That's right. I didn't even mention the Bucks.
They're starting to play good basketball because their depth sucks. And Middleton is not what he was. Lopez is not what, like, Portis, Middleton, Lopez, three of the really key cogs for them. Their age is showing, and they're just playing their age. So, and they're worn. So it's hard to see them going on this long run. But if Lillard and Giannis figure it out like they have the last 3 or 4 games, I think they've won 3 in a row, and they demolished Charlotte yesterday. They're formidable, obviously, because those two, to me, I trust those two a lot more than I trust Tatum and Brown. I just don't. And I know Boston fans have fooled themselves into Tatum and Brown. I don't trust them in the big moments.
They've shown some balance, though, for two guys that supposedly couldn't play together. If you look at the crawl every night with the Boston results, it's like Tatum 28, Brown 29, Tatum 31, Brown 27. They found some kind of accord between the two of them in terms of balancing out who's going to be shooting a rock, even though there was that joke made at the All-Star game that you would rarely see Tatum pass the ball as he was throwing the lob up there for Jaylen Brown during the dunk competition, that in all likelihood he probably would have taken a jumper in that spot instead of throwing it up there for him to dunk. So no, they've shown some ability to really kind of balance things out. I don't know if that's Missoula's coaching.
Well, I think they play fine together. I mean,
Yeah.
Reggie Miller was making a joke. I think their issue to me is they're not, when it comes to the playoffs, if you look at their stats, and you just watch their games, they're like Brown will be inconsistent throughout games. He'll just ebb and flow, and Tatum does the same thing. And I don't trust that when you play at Denver. I think they can get through the East. I just don't trust them against the West. And the Heat are the other team. The Heat made it to a finals run last year without Hero and a banged up Butler. Right now, Butler's healthy and he's pissed. Bam is better than he's ever been. Bam, even when he doesn't put up a lot of points, he's engaged entirely in the game, beginning to end, in a way he's never been. You will have Hero, and Hero has.
He's schwitzing like Moses Malone. I mean, he's working.
He's involved in a way he wasn't always. He's playing like I always wanted him to play. Hero has a major chip on his shoulder because they went to the goddamn finals without him. So he'll be key cog. You then throw in a Hawkins Jr., which they didn't have last year. Hawkins Jr. is the do-it-all guy with no ego that can get you baskets on his own when Butler is out. On top of that, you throw in a Rozier, and that's what they missed. Losing Vincent and then having Lowry be Lowry, they needed a point guard that could run the offense enough but score, and they didn't have that. Vincent woke up in the conference finals and became that, but like Rozier is that. They made a run last year to the finals, and they're a better team this year. And you're starting to see
playing good ball now. I don't think Tyler Hero was in the ball game last night. I don't recall seeing him in the parts that I watched. But you're absolutely right. Hawkins Jr. looks like he's playing in the park, man.
Yes.
He's got those moves, and he's capable of just generating something out of nothing, which, very surprising how polished he is for a rookie in a number of different regards. Well coached, as you might expect, by Eric Spoelstra, and well-schooled in what it is that they need him to do. A couple of buzzer beaters in the college games also. Reed Shepherd, Kentucky. Is Kentucky a team to watch out for?
Yes.
Kentucky's one of those teams people are speculating they could win the whole thing in the NCAA tournament or get knocked out in the first round. You could see both possibilities. Definitely have some talent there. Calipari, remember when the 7-footers were lined up and they had separate sections, 7-footers, point guards, and they were lined up 100 deep to kiss the ring of John Calipari, and he was picking and choosing which guys he was going to have for his one-and-done system. I don't know that the one-and-done is as prominent as it was, but nonetheless, they have a lot of talent on the team. They went on a buzzer beater, this guy, Reed Shepherd, kind of a floater in the lane there from about the foul line. It was almost a 15-foot floater. He had a phenomenal game before that, setting like an all-time scoring record for a Kentucky player. Holy Rex Chapman, what are we talking about here? He ended up having a brilliant ball game and making a buzzer beater. And then against Colorado State, University of Nevada, a guy named Gerard Lucas also had a buzzer beater, and there was one in one of the women's games. So you had the Struce shot and 3 buzzer beaters on the college front, at least that I know of. And that's why it's easy to get caught up in spring fever. And then on top of that, there's a high fly ball to deep left field. This one is going, and it is gone.
Yeah, it's on the way.
$700 million home run. Unbelievable. Ohtani hit a home run. He's going to be okay. The Dodger fans are related. Pretty formidable beginning. I mean, how do you like to face those 3 guys in the first inning, right? Mookie Betts, Ohtani batting second, and then you got to face Freddie Freeman.
Jesus.
Yeah, not too bad. And it's not like the rest of the lineup is laced with slouches. I mean, there are not a lot of weak spots in there. I still like the Braves. to win the World Series this year, Mr. Chalk. But that is going against the Dodgers, who would appear to have everything going in their favor. Everything going in their favor, except some unproven things, which would be this Yamamoto guy. We don't know. Is it a given that every Japanese pitcher that has an earned run average under a deuce in Japan is somehow, I mean, what was he doing? Striking out Warren Cromartie? I don't know. Who was he playing against?
Well, Otani's not pitching. I mean, their rotation.
And Otani's not pitching, right? Exactly.
And, yeah, I already forget it. Like
But they get Glass now. I mean, Glass being the key word there. This guy hasn't gone more than 120 innings. So listen to me, Mr. Baseball Analyst here. Here I am talking about the phenomenon of spring training, but certainly it gave great rise to hope to see Otani homer in his very first appearance of any type as a Dodger. That, by the way, speaking of sickness here, real quickly, do you realize, I mean, there are actually lines on all of these spring training games?
Oh, Jesus.
Holy shit. How sick do you have to be? Which was the first thing I turned to, Lubie. How sick do you have to be to scan that as the first thing? That's worse than looking at the Yonkers results. My God. Spring training odds. How could you possibly be betting on this? Almost every game is like even money. Either side.
You don't know. Baseball, you don't know.
Bet on a series of coin flips. Exactly.
I mean, let alone spring training.
Heads. Imagine, you really have to be a sick bastard to be betting this stuff. I guess it would make it interesting. All right, we have to run. A lot of fun being with you, but we caught up a little spring fever. I got caught up in a little bit. I feel a little hot, Louie. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. So we'll get out of here for today. We'll do it again tomorrow. The morning briefing here on Caffeine TV, NoFilter.net. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's edition of the morning briefing.